I'm Adam McCarthy, and today we're going to be looking at Eliud Kipchoge's new world record he set in Berlin. If you like what we do, smash subscribe, check out the video. Oh, and before we start, we're not going to watch the entire 2-hour marathon because people would get bored. Even you guys will get bored of me sitting in silence for 2 hours, occasionally speaking, or speaking for an entire 2 hours.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
The 48th edition of the BMW Berlin Marathon, and the outside conditions could hardly be better.
So here we are in Berlin, the fastest marathon track in the world because it's so flat. Temperature is 12 degrees Celsius, which is the perfect temperature for marathon running. And the reason why it's the perfect temperature, we got humidity at 85. Could have been a bit less, but we're in Europe, so we'll go give that with a... It's okay. Wind direction is an easterly, it's only 4 kilometers an hour. So not a very high wind, very flat surface, perfect temperature for running in, and the humidity is only at 85%, which is fantastic. Generally, the hotter it is, the harder it is on the longer distances. The reason being that when they start running, you start to heat up, and the longer you run on this, the harder it is to run in that heat. Sprinters love heat because it keeps their muscles warm, which is fantastic for bringing out a powerful, explosive action. Marathon runners, not so much. They overheat. So marathon runners, cool temperatures. 10, not anywhere between 9 degrees is probably the best temperature, but 12 degrees, we'll go with that. Sprinters love it really hot, 28, 29, 30 degrees Celsius. What you find at these marathons as well is there'll be a lot of people who are partaking in it not to be because they're elite, but because to raise money for charity or as a personal challenge, and they get invited or they pay to be invited to take part in these events. So it is a show, and that's why they're doing the mass warm-up at the beginning. It's a show for them so that they can enjoy their time.
And it is the return of the world record holder and double Olympic champion, Eliud Kipchoge. 4 years after his fabulous time in the streets of Berlin, he wants to attack his own record today.
What people don't realise is that you actually have to warm up beforehand, and there should be warm-up sections. The elite runners have their warm-up section. But you still got to be relaxed when you warm up, especially for a marathon. And you're going to be a long time with your own thoughts, mind and feelings. When marathon runners train, they might train as a group, but effectively you're running on your own a lot of the time. With all athletes, there might be times when they're training on their own a lot of the time because they can't make it to the coach, or the coach lives far away from them, for instance, and they can only make certain days, or they're working, so they don't have time to get to the coach. A lot of athletics is amateur, so the coach might have to work themselves. But it's key to note that Eliud Kipchoge is a professional. He's part of a professional athletics club. That although amateur athletics does play its part and should play an important part in athletics, professional athletics is also more important, and we should go down the road of more professional athletics. A professional structure in the sport of track and field.
Big favourite is, of course, Eliud Kipchoge, the 37-year-old Kenyan, 52 kilograms light.
Now, in some marathons, including the Berlin Marathon, we have something called mass starts. Important to note, guys, before we go on, the guys in the black and white, they are also from NM Running. They have been employed today as the pacemakers, and more about them in a little while. But they generally have this meet and greet at the beginning. It's a mass start. There's a... let's go watch that again. There's a full start. There's an actual full start. Okay, so the marathon, I don't know if the person setting them off has an actual screen there to watch the marathon, but let's play that again in slow-mo. Yep, some guy full started. So some guy went before the gun. Not that it actually matters because, well, it doesn't. Not at that distance. At sprinting, it will do, but that distance, doesn't really matter too much. But it's a major marathon, so you should keep to the rules. After saying that, imagine trying to get back all those guys who didn't full start and get everyone back, including the mass runners. It would be difficult, but there you go. So some guy cheated in the orange. So And as you can see, the guys in the black and white, they look like referees, are reaching the front of the pack. And they're important. They are the pacemakers. They are the ones setting the pace of this race. Eliud Kipchoge wants to do world record pace. They will run at world record pace. And now Eliud Kipchoge's actually ran a sub 2 hour marathon. His world record prior to this is post 2 hours. But he did it illegally, not under World Athletics rulings, with pacemakers coming in and out. A lot of pacemakers will struggle to keep that pace, and they've done it before with external pacemakers, and they had to be some of the world's best athletes. Now, it's unusual to get some of the world's best athletes to want to partake to help someone else run. Usually they have their own careers, and they are looking to win themselves, so it's very difficult to find pacemakers. Generally, they tend to be up-and-coming athletes, or athletes who are at a much shorter distance. So, for instance, in this marathon, they might have someone who specialises in half marathon, therefore a fantastic pacemaker, or someone who's better at the track to be able to help them pacemake this. And it's key to note that they are also NN Running Club. Eliud Kipchoge is NN Running Club. So those pacemakers train with him, they know how to pace him, they have familiarity with him.
The half marathon, and already the first record is broken, the fastest ever split.
And have you noticed, they got this kind of V shape, and it's, when it comes to pacemaking, pacemaking a marathon has changed drastically and substantially ever since they've tried to develop ways to try and break that sub 2 hour marathon. What we see here is the guys in an arrow shape because there's 3 of them. Now, they've tried it before with an inverted arrow shape, which is probably a lot better because it hides Eliud Kipchoge in the pack of runners itself. And as you can see, we kind of got this shape here. Eliud Kipchoge is keeping on the inside by the barrier to make sure he's got least air resistance as possible. He's got one athlete here on the right with him and another athlete in behind. They're effectively acting as a barrier to increase the pack's drag factor, if you like. They're being pushed through the air, punching through the air, and he's running in the clean air created by these group of people. Having 2 runners at the back helps with that, help push him along, make sure he's got a pocket of clean air to run in. So they're the ones being affected by it, not Eliud Kipchoge. Eliud Kipchoge can be the inside, where there's nice lot of buildings preventing that air from hitting him, the wind of hitting him. Also, he's trying to get a drink, as we can see there. Refreshing in a marathon is important, your energy and drink breaks, and they're often timed and planned and trained for. There's a guy running there in the centre, that's interesting. What on earth did that guy do wrong to run there in the centre and have to run back into the race again? So here we go, this is another innovation, the car in front. The car in front is effectively a pace car. It's from detailing time, it's part of the athletics team. You might have seen it in cycling before, where the cars have team cars that go along to try and explain to the athletes or the cyclists what they want and what's going on. Now, in marathon running, we don't have teams working together as such, not professional teams anyway. And also, very few athletes are going to be willing to effectively sacrifice their own career to help another person on, which you get in cycling. They're called gregorios, which is the Italian term for it, but domestices, as they're known in cycling, the servants. And they will help the main cyclist from competing. As we can see, this is a perfect view of that formation. They've got the arrow-shaped formation, 2 athletes either side. One guy is getting the most of that wind resistance, pushing in around him. In behind him, let's go back a bit. You can see one of the athletes trying to keep on, but effectively he's not a pacemaker, but trying to keep in behind him, trying to slipstream in behind him. But effectively, he's created a pocket of air for Kipchoge to run in. So these guys here at the front, and I'm going to draw some few lines, effectively creating the air to come in behind, and it rolls in behind, making sure he's got a pocket air, and this guy here is effectively being forced into that pocket of air. So he's getting a bit of the drag, although he's slipstreaming in behind, losing less energy. Eliud Kipchoge's got 3 guys in front of him creating that, meaning he's also got less air, and he just has to sit in that pocket. Okay, Kipchoge's wanting to run a bit faster. He's moving in the air and he's decided that he's going to go through. The pacemakers all have to drop out at some point because they can't match that pace of what Kipchoge wants. If they did, they would have been in the race themselves. And this is probably one of the most dramatic, one of the most iconic things in marathon running you can see. Running through the Brandenburg Gate up to the finish line with the Brandenburg Gate in behind you. And that, my friends, is the fastest marathon in the world, and the fastest race course. Look at the surprise in his face. It's amazing. Doesn't matter how many world records he breaks, doesn't matter how well he does. He always seems to amazes him. It's like he doesn't know his own ability and strengths and surprised by it. But you should be enjoying in factors like this. Marathon runners generally have a very long career. They can easily go into their 40s, whereas other athletes generally don't. And regardless of that short career, it's a privilege to be able to compete. And Eliud Kipchoge has mentioned things like that, being a privilege to compete. Privilege to be able to compete at an elite level and more importantly, do something that many people can't do, and that's actually do well at it. A very small percentage will be able to achieve what he has, and even fewer, being a generational athlete like him, break world records or break multiple world records, win multiple Olympics, be the greatest of all time. It's a cliche now, the GOAT. It's often ignored as an athlete when you're trying to do well, how when you're in that bubble, so to speak, where you see other athletes do well and in elite performance where everyone is elite, that you forget that what such a privilege it is to be partaking in that, because many people cannot reach those standards. I'm Adam McCarthy of SSA Athletics. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always guys, I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and check out our Facebook channels. Bye.